sanctuary, 'cause from the graveyard of self, you have resurrected me.
Hi, my name is Michael Kelly, and it's my privilege to be on this journey of life with you. That's what life is. It's a journey. It's not necessarily neat. It's not necessarily tidy, but it is a journey with Jesus. And my great hope and prayer for us together is that the destination of this journey, even though it may not be comfortable, is intimacy. And so I pray for you that as we walk together, that the Lord would lead us together into a greater degree of intimacy with Him. I hate conflict. I hate conflict in relationships. I hate conflict in things that I see. I hate conflict in my life. I don't like any part of conflict. And because I hate conflict so much, I do my best to try to insulate myself from it. I insulate myself from relationships that cause conflict. I avoid controversy. I don't like even watching things that inspire in me a feeling of conflict. Now, on occasion, sometimes those efforts that I make to insulate myself from conflict don't really succeed. For example, a couple of years ago, my wife talked me into going to a fun little picture, as she described it, a movie called Meet the Parents. And that was one of the worst movie experiences that I've had in my entire life, because the whole premise of that film is conflict. It's nothing but conflict. It's conflict at every turn. And I squirmed, I squinted, I watched through my hands, and then ultimately I left. I left 12 times. I left and got popcorn. I left and got a Coke. I left and got some nachos. I left and got some candy. And ultimately I left and went to the bathroom 9 separate times. And each time I was out, I was grateful, because finally my heart stopped beating so quickly. My neck stopped sweating so profusely. And finally I had a sense of peace, because I was back inside the insulation. What I find myself doing is trying to create almost a fortress of peace that I live inside of. I build huge walls around myself so that no conflict can enter in. I call this fortress faith, but what it really is insecurity. I call it faith because inside of that conflict, I am absolutely sure of things. I'm absolutely sure of relationships. I'm absolutely sure of the encounters that I enter into. I'm absolutely sure of everything. And there is no place inside of my fortress of faith for insecurity, for doubts, for fears, for questions, for hesitancies. There is no place for that sort of thing. And I don't feel like I'm alone in my fortress. I feel like that our Christian subculture also hates conflict, and so we continue to build fortresses around ourselves. And we can stand on the tops of our fortresses and look down at those questions of doubt and fear and uncertainty and be thankful that we are here inside the fortress. Now, the problem with living inside the fortress is that Jesus doesn't live there with us. Jesus doesn't want to be inside the fortress. He wants to move us out of that fortress and into the real landscape of doubt and fear and insecurity, because that's where Jesus lived. If we read through the statements of Christ in the New Testament, we cannot escape that 2,000 years ago, this man constantly said and taught and lived things that inspired not only faith, but inspired an incredible amount of fear and doubt and question and insecurity. And if we really want to walk the road that Jesus walked, it's not inside of this fortress that we call faith. It's outside of the walls of that fortress. It's down inside the land of doubt and fear. Real faith is moving past those walls that we put up to insulate ourselves. Real faith is not being stuck inside of that wall. Real faith is actually leaving and going down into the land where Jesus is. And if that is so, then maybe faith is not really being 100% sure of something. Maybe real faith is being 100% sure of someone. Maybe real faith is traveling the same road that he traveled, asking the same questions that he did, embracing the doubts that he inspires, and all the while, maybe real faith is trusting in him to continue to lead us on that pathway, even though it's uncomfortable.